Alf, Pokemon investing is dead, right?
My name is Florida. You're watching Rudy on a YouTube channel called Alpha Investments. One man's journey into a life that people thought was impossible, people thought was stupid. Just buy the S&P, right? Cut. Do it again. Do it again. Folks, Florida, Rudy, Alpha Investments. There you go.
As we head into 2026, a lot of questions surrounding the economy here in the United States, but also, man, it seems a little stagnant out there in the world of Pokemon sealed investing and also buying and selling singles and all that good stuff, right? Well, I think it's just a little bit of the calm before the storm thing. And how I think this is, another YouTube channel I watch is called Clear Value Tax, Brian over there. And he keeps very close track of monetary policy with the Federal Reserve. Now, before you turn the video off, I think this is important to at least just take in and understand how monetary policy can have an effect on Pokemon cards, collectibles, and all sorts of alternative style investments, as well as traditional investments for that matter. So the quantitative tightening phase of our economy, it looks to be over, which means we're moving more towards the quantitative easing phase, which means lower interest rates. It means more free-flowing money, and the money printing machine goes back on burr. This means, of course, more money flushing out into the economy, and what I think is going to happen is some of that money is going to hit sealed Pokemon. I don't know if it's necessarily going to hit the brand new products that come out, and that's another thing. We don't know exactly where that money is going to flow. We don't know if it's going to go into Sword and Shield or Scarlet Violet or all the brand new releases, the evolution stuff. Maybe it goes to all the vintage. Maybe the huge focus is on vintage. We don't really know where that money will flow, but I've got to believe that there's probably going to be an even amount of flow out there between a lot of these things. It doesn't mean that every single is going to go up. It doesn't mean that every sealed box is going to go up, but I think it does mean that there is going to be just more money flowing into this space because frankly, there's just going to be more money in general. The whole idea that we're losing purchasing power because there's just more dollars out there in the universe, and that's exactly what is happening. When they lower interest rates, as they keep on lowering them, people say, you know what? I don't know if I just want to sit money in a money market account and get 2 to 3%. Maybe I should go look at other things. Now, that also means traditional investments. The Dow Jones, the S&P 500, probably going to do very well also based on this fact. As the middle class, upper middle class, and the wealthy are looking to stash assets. They're looking at, hey, man, my dollar is worth a lot less, just keeps on getting worth less and less. I need to get into assets that appreciate at a faster rate than inflation. And what has one of those been? I mean, frankly, if we just look over time, it's Pokemon cards. A lot of people will laugh at that. A lot of people will say like, oh my God, I can't believe that you put a bunch of money in Pokemon cards, as we talked about in the last video. Imagine if you had just bought, loose packs of everything going back to 1999 forward. As soon as those jungle packs and the unlimited packs, everything came out, you bought some packs and you just stashed them. The same way that you buy stocks and you stash them, right? You just buy them and then you just hold on to them, and then over time it does its thing. If you look at almost the last 30 years of Pokemon, it's really no different. If you had just bought loose packs, literally nothing special, no strategy whatsoever, you just bought every single set that came out. You bought a few packs. Maybe you bought 10 to 20 packs of whatever that was at retail, or even less than retail in a lot of cases. How would you be doing today if you had just accumulated over the last 25 to 30 years? You'd be doing amazingly well. And that's the whole point is, it's not a bad idea, I don't think, to diversify outside of just the S&P. Most of my money is in the S&P, so don't get me wrong. I think the traditional stuff is certainly where to start. But if you're looking at diversifying out into other things, Pokemon cards have proven to not be too shabby of a move to diversify into. And like I said, I think that the bull run, it's not necessarily going to be because there's that much more demand. I think there's just that many more dollars out there looking for places to put it in. People looking to put extra dollars in, and I think Pokemon cards is going to be one of those things. I also think it's going to be the norm that the new retail, it's not going to be $150 a booster box or $120, $130, $150. I think the norm is going to be $200 and $200 plus new releases of Pokemon cards. I was just thinking back, Journey Together, when I was looking at that, it was one of those at release. I went on and I tried to get, I believe the retail price for the booster boxes was like $167 plus tax, tag, title, shipping, and all that good stuff. $167, and that was the retail cost, the MSRP for a booster box. I just don't see that really being reality in the future, again, because of what I just talked about. I think it's probably going to be, $189, $199, maybe more than that. Maybe retail is just a lot higher moving forward. Would anybody be surprised at that? I think we can all agree when booster boxes were $70, $80, $90, $100 each, they were way underpriced. They were way undervalued. It was just a perfect time in the market where you had higher interest rates than what we had seen in decades, frankly. I mean, we had interest rates really remaining low. And then to combat inflation, they were raised for 2 solid years. 2022 and 2023 was about raising interest rates, curbing inflation, which they did do. Inflation was at like 9%. Monthly CPI was rolling in at like 9%. Then they raised interest rates and it came down to what is that? The high twos, 2.7, 2.8%. They had to curb inflation. Here's the problem though, is we're not really going to be able to curb inflation forever. We're just going to have to be able to park our money into assets that perform over time that beat that inflation. The actual inflation might actually be more, that CPI number that's at 2.5 to 3%. In reality, it might be more like 4 to 5%. At all times. And we just have to get into things that are going to beat that. The S&P probably being the main one for most people. But I think people are also going to look at sealed Pokemon. I know that sounds crazy, but crazy when you look into past results. It's just not. And again, when you look at a long-term horizon, I'm not talking about day trading. I'm not talking about day trading booster boxes. I'm talking about buying and holding the same way you would with a traditional buy. If it was a piece of real estate. I mean, granted, some people flip real estate. That's fine. That's one way you can work within real estate. And a lot of people day trade stocks. You can certainly do that too. Buy in options and all these things and kind of gamble in the stock market with different strategies. You can certainly do that. But for investing, though, actual investing, it's buy and hold. That's really what it boils down to. It's buying and holding. And for those typically, over time, it works out really well. A lot of people, they think about strategies about buying and selling, when in reality, if they had just continued to buy and just kind of slowly, even if it meant just buying less, but just got slow buys up, if you're not timing the market, you're just buying into stuff, over time, it usually works out, assuming it's a good asset class, assuming it's something that you believe in, and actually does pan out. S&P 500 has something like 52 cents of every dollar on the planet. Of every investment dollar on the planet is in the S&P 500. So not even just the United States, but on planet Earth is in the S&P 500. So that is why the S&P is so safe, if you will, is because there's so much money and participants in the S&P at this point. It's so large. Pokemon's never going to have the same sort of participants. It doesn't need to, though. It really doesn't. And then you add in the whole rip and ship element of Pokemon cards that's really taken hold over the last few years. Not just Pokemon, but sports cards as well. You think a sealed product and the stuff just continues to get more and more scarce. It's not scarce when it comes out. Let me be clear. When the Pokemon company says that they printed 7 to 10 billion cards a year, that's not scarcity. But when people are opening it at an extremely high rate, and then of course after 2 years or so they stop printing, and then you've got kind of like, okay, it's going out of print, and you know that you're not going to get any more, people are still opening those packs. The rip and shippers are still opening them. People are still looking for older packs. People now today are paying big to buy packs that are 5, 10, 15, 20 years old to open them, to still open them. So I'm going to continue dinking and dunking and picking up different sealed Pokemon products here in 2026. I had a lot of fun doing it over the last 12 months. I've been a Pokemon investor in quotation marks for the last 12 months. I started December, right around now, like December 10th of 2024 is when I started out. And I'm just going to continue on, again, kind of strategizing with different sets, but I'm not going to try to really overthink it. I think it really boils down to just getting the right products. I want to be mostly in booster boxes and just kind of stay that path and continue, not necessarily buying the brand new thing when it comes out, because they do have a reprint. We're seeing it now with Mega Evolutions, where I actually bought a box of Mega Evolutions at $300 and now they're like $250. So that's a lesson to just be like, you know what? It's okay to just be patient. There was that second wave of print that was coming, and I'm planning to get more in that 240 to 250, 260 range and just sit on them. Just do nothing for the next 5, 10, maybe even 20 years, getting ready for the 50th anniversary of Pokemon, and then maybe I'll sell it all off at that point. Who knows? All right, friends, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We just started this channel. Subscribe and like the video. I'll talk to you again next time.